If I could have a single superpower, it would be to speak every language in the world. So I've always loved studying languages and like finding out culture from people, from different people, just because I love traveling and I love just learning. But I've always wanted to learn Japanese, and so I decided to finally take the leap and really study again. I started learning in middle school, but then I took a super long break because life just got in the way. I was preparing for high school, I was preparing for college and like getting in. It just kind of went on the back burner and I never touched it again until now. And so I'm very excited to start really buckling down and learning it again. And I just wanted to share my tips and tricks for learning Japanese or really any other language. My biggest tip for learning a language is to find out why you're learning the language. For school, for work, for fun, I think you need to specify a goal, and I think it keeps you motivated to keep learning. For me, I am learning Japanese because an amazing opportunity found itself in my email, and I realized I never really lost the passion for Japanese and like learning it and the culture. And I've always wanted to visit all those historical places, all the huge landmarks they have on the island, and I don't think my experience would be complete without that language. Plus, how cool is it to say that you speak Japanese? So my second tip is to have multiple resources for the language you're learning. So that can include apps, different textbooks, different ways of listening and speaking, just so your learning doesn't become super repetitive and you don't get bored with what you're learning. So let's say you do apps and flashcards one day, switch it up and do listening or writing or studying from a textbook the next. It just keeps things new and doesn't get so routine, and so you don't get bored or unmotivated when you're learning. For Japanese, I use multiple apps, and I also have this textbook called Mina no Nihongo that I use. And I'm thinking about making a video that goes into depth about why I like these apps and why I like this textbook and just resources I use for Japanese specifically. So if you guys are interested in that, please let me know. I'm planning to make it anyway, but I'd love to know if there is actual interest for it. That is my biggest tip. Have multiple resources, it keeps you excited to keep learning. And lastly, the third most important tip I think is to try to incorporate your language into your everyday life. You don't have to study every day, but just being exposed to your language that you want to learn every day I think really helps, and it's very beneficial in the long run. So for instance, if you really like games or you like playing mobile games, maybe try switching the game's language into Japanese or whatever language you're learning. For instance, I have this game called Adorable Home that I play very casually, but it's a very easy game, and I switched it into Japanese since the game is very simple and it helps me learn a little bit of vocab. I practice reading, that kind of thing, so just little things like that can really help. Or I know a lot of people are on Instagram a lot, so it might be helpful to follow some Japanese Instagram accounts. I know there's a lot of like Japanese pet influencers that post quite often, and so you get to practice reading, and plus I mean seeing those cute pets are great. I would recommend following influencers or Instagram pages that focus and only speak in the language you're learning, and it really helps get that exposure every day even if you're not actively studying. Once you get to a high enough level, a really good way to practice your language is to go about your day and see if you can name things around you in Japanese, or if you can explain what you're doing to yourself in Japanese or your language in your head. That way you get a really good understanding of what you see often and what vocab you need to learn. Oftentimes textbooks will teach us very basic words that they think we'll use a lot, but it's very random, like this is an apple, or can I have that pen kind of thing, which you don't really use a lot daily, I think. And so it's really helpful to go about your day and see what vocab you need to learn to describe what you do in your daily life, since you'll most likely be using that the most. and think about what you and your friends talk about the most, and if you can explain that in your language. So that way, when you're studying your language, you can really figure out what you need to study and what are the actual things that you'll talk about within that language. And I know that was technically the last tip, but I do have a bonus tip. It was advice that I found on YouTube from a polyglot named Steve Kaufman, and he is like a language genius, and it was great hearing his words. His biggest advice for language learners was to enjoy the experience of learning that language. You know, enjoy those mistakes, enjoy just like having fun and learning something new, because if you take it too seriously, you're going to be so hard on yourself. So just take it easy. You know, you're learning. One thing that I've always told myself is, even though I speak whatever language like a 6-year-old, it took that 6-year-old 6 years to talk like that, so it's gonna take me time too. And so my best advice mixed with Steve Kaufman's is just enjoy your time, take it easy on yourself, and have fun with what you're doing. Just remember, if you like what you're learning, you're gonna learn it easier. So that's all I have to say, and that is actually where I'm ending today's video. I am planning to make a video about all the resources I use for Japanese, so please look forward to that. Good luck on your language journeys. We can get through this together, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!